Imagine, if you will, living about 70,000 years ago. You belonged to a small band of hunter-gatherers. You were a Neanderthal. You could be a modern human living a bit more to the southeast, in what is now Western Asia, Jordan, Israel. Now, you were a small band. You hunted together. You belonged to a small band of mostly related individuals. You hunted together. You foraged together. Belonged to a small band you ate together. Now, imagine that during one of these hunting expeditions, the males hunted. You were injured. You didn't have any modern medicine. Didn't have any doctors. All you had to rely on was your band, your group of related individuals, family members, extended family members, one or two that were not, or a few that were not from your family but were related. You need something that is innate in modern humans, that is compassion. Compassion is something that an emotion that we all have, that allows us to take care of people who are infirm, injured, sick, etc. So, did the other hominins, other humans that are not of our species, have that trait? The answer is yes, and it is much older than we anticipated. I'm going to start sharing and start showing the first example of compassion in a hominin of a human species that is not ours, and he was Erectus. Here we have the skulls of 5 individuals of H. erectus that were excavated in Damnizi. Damnizi is in Georgia. Up until not long ago, up until basically this year, these were the oldest individuals, human individuals outside of Africa. They are dated to around 1.7, 1.8 million years ago. Now, each one of these skulls from the left to the right are different individuals, and what is more interesting is the first one that hasn't got the mandibles is the Damnizi 1. Next one is Damnizi 2. Then is Damnizi 3, and the most interesting one is Damnizi 4. As you can see of his skull, he is a deformed individual. He had most probable arthritis or some bone degenerative disease, which basically made his mandible and his facial skull basically wear out. Now, he was old by Erectus standards. And how did he survive? Well, his group took care of him. The studies indicated that his food may have been pulped to make it easy to digest, easy to swallow, much like baby food. This is, you can see, is one of the first examples we have of compassion for our fellow human beings. Now, another one. Now we get on to the crux of the article which I want to read, and it's from University of York, but it is I've linked the actual study which they are citing. It's in the description, plus all the ones I'm talking about. Except the images which I just showed of Damnizi. It's easy to Google. I will provide the Google link, in fact, in my description. And so compassion helped Neanderthals to survive, a study reveals. They have an unwarranted image of brutish and uncaring. The same old continuing stereotypical description in the beginning. Always when people talk about Neanderthals, they always have to bring up that they have an image of brutish and uncaring. Well, I've tried my best in all of my streams to dispel that idea. They were intelligent individuals, and now they were also caring individuals with compassion, and this study proves that. New research has revealed just how knowledgeable and effective Neanderthal healthcare was. The study from the University of York reveals that Neanderthals' healthcare was uncalculated and highly effective, challenging our notions that they were brutish compared to modern humans. Challenging to the common folk, it's challenging, but it's not challenging anymore. Enough stories have been put out. I've done my best to show that they were not brutish and compared to us. They were slightly different, basically. It is well known that Neanderthals sometimes provided care for the injured, but new analysis by the team of York suggests that they were genuinely caring for their peers, regardless of the level of injury, illness, or injury, rather than helping others out for self-interest. Well, as I said, I started off by giving you the small scenario that you, in living in that time period where there was not, where we were pre-agriculture, where we relied on each other, so it was not self-interest, it was just survival instinct. H. sapiens, modern humans, until the invention of agriculture, were the same, exactly the same. They had to rely on their fellow people in the close-knit group that formed their band. By the way, band is the smallest social grouping that you can have in the hierarchical of social stratification. So the band is the smallest one. More than one individuals. Obviously, you have the family, but a family can be multiple, but a band is a family plus a plus. So it has individuals from non-family or non-related individuals inside the group. It's to obviously mitigate any inbreeding, etc., etc. So, lead author Dr. Penny Spickens, senior lecturer of Archaeology of Human Origin at the University of York, said, "Our findings suggest Neanderthals didn't think in terms of whether others may repay their efforts. They just responded to their feelings about seeing the loved one suffering." As I said before, so did us, we, modern humans, until the invention of agriculture, or basically until the development of the city-state. Maybe in the what's that division? The city-state, the warlords, or the I'll talk about the divisions another time, but because I'm concentrated on this article other than the other. But so yeah, until the advent of basically agriculture, we were exactly the same, us modern humans. So most of the individuals archaeologists know about have had a severe injury of some kind. Of course, hunting was a very, very dangerous occupation. It meant many individuals, many people, humans, died while hunting because they were hunting large animals. And for example, during most of the period up until close to the end of the Ice Age, until basically the extinction of the megafauna, the humans were hunting mammoth, woolly rhinoceroses, megasauruses. They were huge deer which had antlers that were about 4 or 5 meters wide, And another animals of that ilk. The cave bear, for example, they were also hunted by us and by Neanderthals. So you can see they were not fluffy little animals that we have today. Even our most largest animal that we have, land animals, the elephants and the rhinoceroses and the buffalo, they were small. They were okay. They were big, but small compared to many of the individuals during the last ice age, until the last glacial period, I should say. We're still in an ice age. So in some cases, the injuries occurred long before death, and they would have required monitoring, massage, fever management, hygiene care, and the study suggests analysis of a male aged around 25 to 40 at the time of death reveals catalogue of poor health, including a degenerative disease of the spine and shoulders. This brings me, I'll stop here, this brings me to this article. It's from Science News. It's from last year. I think I might have covered this, but this was an old individual who lived about 50,000 years ago, a Neanderthal. He lived in the area of Iraqi Kurdistan. He was found in the cave of Shenedar. He was studied by Eric Trinkhaus, the co-author and professor of anthropology in arts and science in the Washington University in St. Louis. This is Shenedar 1, and this individual, he was struck down earlier in his had many injuries. He had a degenerative disease which made him deaf in here. He also had just get back here. He sustained a serious blow to the side of his face, fractures and eventual amputation of the right arm at the elbow. So they amputated his right arm at the elbow. And he had injuries in his right leg as well as systemic degenerative condition. And he lived into his 40s. And into his 40s, he would have been quite old for hunter-gatherers in general. So as you can see, he sustained those injuries when he was young, but he lived up to a ripe old age, in their ripe old ages. Even modern humans didn't live that much longer than this. So he was taken care. This is what compassion is. And this was about for 50,000 years ago. Now, jumping back to the original article, which we show that his condition, now we're talking about this age 20 to 45-year-old man. I think they may be talking about the same one. Let's have a look. But no, they're not. His condition would have sapped his strength over the final 12 months of his life and severely restricted his ability to contribute to the group, obviously. If you can't, in band societies of hunter-gatherers, you must contribute to the group as much as you can. If you can't hunt, you could do other things. Comparative archaeology in the 1960s, done by Stephen J. Gould in Australia, where he studied the Australian Aborigines, one of the tribes, I can't remember which one. I have his book, and he showed all the activities done by those members. The women and the children and the elderly would have foraged, and foraging is not a lazy or easy task. Foraging in itself, the gathering part of it, provided as much as 60% of the nutrition value for the group, for the band. While hunting could provide a huge amount, it was not as reliable and as regular as hunting, as gathering, because gathering also entails hunting small animals, not the big ones. While the massive, the capturing a big animal, in Australia, the big animals, the kangaroo and the emu, but in glacial period, in glacial times, when Neanderthal and modern humans lived 50 to 40,000 years ago, the big animals, like I said, the mammoth, the woolly rhino, the megasaurus, etc., etc. So if you could capture one of those, you provide a lot of meat. And they would have, in Europe, of course, and the Eurasia, they would have preserved the meat by drying, for example, making jerky. That's the way you can preserve meat to last long. And there's also evidence of sort of ice cellars, because even in Europe in the glacial period, there were permafrost that would have been under the ground, not long, not too deep, about a meter, and you'd have ice. So you could use natural refrigerators. So the authors of the study argue that the remained part of the group in his articulated remains were subsequently carefully buried. Obviously, I've already talked about Neanderthals buried their dead, and this has just got me demonetized for this saying this. You will see. So they buried their deceased, and they, not just them, but there could be earlier. But the most direct evidence of burial is the Neanderthals. We have so much evidence. Dr. Spickens added, we argue that the social significance of the broader pattern of healthcare has been overlooked, and interpretations of a limited or calculated response to healthcare may have been influenced by preconceptions of Neanderthals as being different. They were different. Nothing wrong with being different, but they weren't brutish. That is the 1880s up until the 1960s mindset. Since the 70s, especially since the 90s, last century, we have learned so much of the Neanderthal. It's frightening. In fact, we've already sequenced the genome of Neanderthals, and it's exciting. So the very similarity of Neanderthal healthcare to that of later periods has important implications. We argue that organized, knowledgeable, and caring healthcare is not unique to our species. I think I just also demonstrated with the Damnesi erectus evidence, and but rather has a long evolutionary history. Yes, it has, and as you can see, the more we study a subject, the more we gain knowledge of that subject, and I will continue to do all my work in bringing a change in attitudes to Neanderthals. They were exciting cousins of ours. The human race of Neanderthals were marvelous, and I absolutely adore them, as you guys can see. And I just await every new study that comes out that involves them. So I will end it here. I will end it here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Hello, Carlos David. Hello, John the Bemused. Eric Lee, how are you? Asgar. Oh, wrong place. How are you, man? I think I'm going to watch it because he hears a bit better. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, I know where I was. Anyway, who else haven't I said hello to? Carlos David, my dear friend, as well. DM, glad you can make it. Let's see. If you look at the cave painting, actually the cave drawings in France are 10,000 years earlier than you just. But yes, exactly. They were hunting commonplace. It was the only thing they did, in fact, DM. Well, gathering always important. I just said that they were about 60% DM, 60% of the nutritional value, the material value food that they got was by gathering, and but yes. So anyway, Malafis, how are you, sweetie? You just caught me while I was leaving. So till next time, guys. I hope I can get another exciting. I hope this was exciting. To me, I found it fascinating. I love this talking about Neanderthals. It always gets me excited. Next time, I think I'll, if I can't find anything interesting, I'll continue with my stone tool evolutionary theory. We left last time. We left the Gravatian, and we're coming up to my the period which I did my my thesis for my Bachelor of Arts degree, and the Solutrean, if I do it. But if there's nothing interesting, I like to keep that series as my backup because I have enough material. So yeah, just a little bit of announcement to make. I might start game streaming in this channel, just because sometimes just to fill up videos, because I need more views and stuff, because I'm losing people, and like I said, if I get below 1,000, I will stop streaming. I will just stop streaming. But I'm gonna do my gaming series. I have a few games. I might need to buy a hard drive because my 250 gigabyte SSD is not enough. Arc takes a hell of a lot of space, so I need to get a bigger one so I can add most of the games which I have, and I'll play them whenever I have nothing else to do during the week, and probably do commentary on stuff that I read during the day while I'm playing the game and so on. Just to pass the time. So, guys, thank you for being here, and see you next time.